Hey guys, no nonsense, know-how here, and today's gonna be a quick follow along on how to do the rear drum brakes on this 2014 Toyota Tacoma behind me. This will probably differ from my usual style, so let's try it out. Now this guy, he failed PA state inspection for the rear shoes, drums, and apparently needs a hardware kit too, so we'll see about that when we pull these off. It's got 126,000 miles on original miles on those brakes, and he also failed for a left front brake caliper. Doesn't need pads and rotors, the guy said, so he only wants bare minimum. Anyway, let's see what we got. I got that right front wheel chocked, and we can jack her up. To be safe, I like to set it down on jack stands too and leave the jack in place. You can see we put it on the center of the pumpkin there. These actually look really nice for 120,000 miles, but we can see on the front, paper thin there, so I could see why the guy failed it. Although honestly, that might be borderline failure if we put a dial caliper on there, measuring device. So it's a good idea to peel back these boots a little bit and check for any seepage past the wheel cylinders. We got nothing there, and otherwise, yeah, this hardware kit don't look bad at all, so definitely doesn't need that. No rust or anything, and I'm sure these drums are not out of spec. Max diameter is 256 millimeter, but yeah, whatever, the shop failed them for us, so we'll just, these are pretty grooved up anyway, so we'll just go get those, throw them on. Let's check out the other side. These are those lug nuts with the stainless sleeves on them. A little bit swollen, so my socket keeps getting stuck on there, but not too bad yet. Okay, same thing on this side. I'll do the same thing on the boot. Nothing, nice and dry back there. Beautiful. See this left front caliper too. This guy said one of the inner pistons was seized up on the caliper. Actually, you can see where he already poked a screwdriver in here. He probably twisted it sideways to see. Sometimes I like to use these big retaining ring pliers. You just push them in here like this. Oh yeah, those pistons are going right in on the top. Let's try out the bottom. Oh yeah, so this bottom piston is seized up. How about that? All right, well, we'll get him a caliper then. You can see we might as well replace these pads at the same time. They're around 6/30 seconds, maybe 7, which I mentioned that to him, but he was like, nah, just the bare minimum. We could probably just unstick that piston too if we wanted to, but again, we don't want to piss the guy off that he goes to. So we'll just grab a new caliper. So actually, these have a little bit of pad separation in here. I don't know how well you can see that with this camera, but because look, you pull that back and these started separating. You see, so you could have got some life out of these still, but same thing, a little bit of pad separation. If I poke my screwdriver under there, I can see. So that actually does fail state inspection, and that guy was right by failing the piston also. You see separation went to about this far. Cool. Before you push the pistons in on the caliper, you should always check the fluid level in the reservoir and make sure it's not at the max or even higher than that, because then you'll push fluid out over the top. Or better yet, it's not a bad idea to just crack the bleeder loose, put a hose on here and put it into a pan or bottle, and when you loosen this, when you push the pistons in, the fluid will just come out of that instead of being forced up the lines into the reservoir. But either which way you do it, you're not going to hurt anything. You just might spill a little brake fluid. Now let's go grab some parts. I've been using the Varla Eagle 1 as my parts runner, and for everything else, this thing's a blast to ride. It's a pretty good range too. You know what, I gotta grab this caliper. There's probably a core. So you got a 12 millimeter on this bolt holding the hose on, and then right here is a 10 millimeter. You might have to spray some rust pen or sometimes even heat this if it's seized up. You don't want to twist the line. This one's nice and easy though, easy going. And is there something else holding that line on too? No, there's not. All right, tuck that out of the way. We can take our cap and put it on here to prevent the brake fluid from leaking out. Some guys like to, it's still leaking a little bit. Now, some guys like to kink these lines, but it's really not a good practice. I would be lying if I don't do it sometimes though. It's just not good, because you could damage the hose. Not line, hose. There we go. A little squirrely ride with one hand on this thing. Woo! Okay, we're good to go. Let's get this home, finish her up. As I'm cruising home, I realized I totally forgot to grab the front pads. The tools for the drum brakes. We'll get a pair of diagonal cutters. And a few tools here. Adjuster. That should be enough to start. Before you take drum brakes apart, it's always a good idea to snap some pictures of where everything's located, so you don't get mixed up with the springs and the orientation of everything. And it's a great idea to wear safety glasses too, so if any springs go flying or anything like that. Let's see here. I guess this isn't so much a how-to video, it's kind of a follow along with a couple tips and such. Oh. And good idea to set everything like the way it came out, and we'll position our new shoes the way they go too. So these diagonal cutters, you can grab on the springs like this to drag them, but you're not cutting into the spring, you're just grabbing it enough to hold it. So that takes a little bit of technique to do it properly without damaging things. I'm sure there's already a million how-to videos on how to do drum brakes. Now, on the back of your shoes, you have 3 pads, 1, 2, and 3, and those ride on the backing plate here. So if you don't lube these up, they will squeak over time. You might want to flush all the brake dust out too. It's up to you, but just wire wheel those off a little bit, or wire brush them off, and then put a little bit of either brake grease, or I like to use anti-seize on there. Now, some people don't like anti-seize, but the reason I like it on a component like this is because it dries out over time, and it just acts as a dry lubricant on there. Whereas if you put like a brake grease on, it's going to attract a bunch of dirt and crud to it and cause even more wear on the backing plate. Where I do use silicone brake grease is a little dab right here and a little dab right there. And don't ask me why I do it this way. Honestly, you could use both of them. I've just found you could use anti-seize on these too. I just find better luck using this. And the anti-seize on the backing plate. That's it. Everybody's got their methods, right? When you're transferring these little horseshoe clips over, a lot of time you have to reuse these, which, if you're careful, you just pry them out of there. But these shoes actually came with new ones, so that's pretty sweet. So you can just grab them with a pair of dikes if you got new ones and pry them on out of there. Put a little bit of grease on these pins too, just a tiny bit, and you can transfer this stuff over. Not a bad idea to scrub some of the rust on the hub too. And you're ready to start going together. You could clean all the brake dust out of here, but the truth is, you're not really fixing anything, and it's just gonna get brake dust on one of the vents immediately, pretty much anyway. So, all right, that's all back on there. Of course, I didn't get you any really nice close-ups of doing that, but point is just take some pictures before you take it apart and put it back together the same way. You're definitely going to struggle if you haven't done drum brakes before. Now take your new drum and hose her down with some brake clean. You could also use hot soapy water. It's recommended by some guys. You just don't want any oily residue on there. It's the important part. And now we just have to make sure our shoes are adjusted properly. So you can start by getting the shoes lined up and put your drum on. See, this one's pretty tight going on, but almost adjusted where it needs to be. And I've loosened the adjuster a little bit, and now let's see how that fit is. Should be pretty snug, and when you go on, you shouldn't have very much back and forth. You go all the way on, and you should just hear the shoes just barely contacting it. That sounds good. Some guys won't like this, but I like to put a little smear of anti-seize in between each stud, and then you rub it in just to prevent the rust and corrosion in the future. I've been doing this a long time on my own vehicles, and I don't do it on every one, but if there's already rust on there, it really makes a huge difference and will prevent rust in the future in between these surfaces. And that side is all done. Good to go. And now I got to do the other side, but it's literally the same thing. So, boom. All right, ready to go back together. Now, one thing I did want to mention on the other side that I didn't is these little pins right here. While I didn't get a hardware kit for this, you want to pay special close attention to those pins and make sure they're not all rusted, because if they are, you'd want to maybe clean that off and put some grease on. I've seen those rust through. These ones weren't bad at all, totally fine. No need to replace this hardware. All right, now time for a frigid ride back to AutoZone on the Varla. It's 28 degrees out tonight, but gotta get those pads. I got the goods. They only had the standard Duralast, but that's all right. Nothing to really see with the front pad slap. I just take silicone grease and rub a little circle on the back of these pads, or you can put them on the pistons too. And then take your pins, clean up the rust on them. I like to use anti-seize on these, and then I rub a little bit of anti-seize on each edge of here too. Now, with a pad slap on these Toyotas, provided the boots aren't torn or anything, and we could take these out and clean all the rust, but we're not doing that. I like to take a skinny brush like this, a wire brush, and you just go right in here, and you can clean that rust out real good, and then hose it out with some brake clean, and you got a good surface in there. The big thing you're looking for is that the pads slide freely through the caliper. If they don't, you got to get that rust out of there, because otherwise they ain't gonna last too long. Got the driver's side all together. Now I just got to bleed it. So I got a hose on there, 8mm. Let that gravity bleed, and then I'll get Jen to help me out, and we'll call that good to go. Make sure to top off your brake fluid up to the max. When you're all done, make sure to try out your parking brake. It should start getting tight about halfway, and if you're able to, then you shouldn't be able to push it all the way to the floor. If you are able to, then you've done something wrong with the drum brakes, or you have them too loosely adjusted, so you'd have to go back and tighten them up. But this feels perfect, brand new, baby. Then you just got to take it for a good spin, brandish the brakes, make sure there's no weird noises, and we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully you found the video informative or entertaining in some way, and if you got any suggestions on a future format for doing this kind of thing, let me know. Till next time, no nonsense, no hell. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see you again.